I stand frozen at the entrance of the copper elm, the soft glow of chandelier light making my silk blouse shimmer. The hostess, a willowy woman with perfect posture, recognizes me immediately. "Miss Harper, we're delighted to have you tonight." Her smile feels genuine, making my chest tighten with unexpected gratitude. "And congratulations on your promotion." "Thank you." My voice sounds steadier than I feel. I smooth down my blouse, a splurge I justified for this occasion, and follow her through the restaurant. The Copper Elm isn't just Boulder's most prestigious restaurant. It's a fortress of mahogany and crystal that I've walked past for years, peering through windows at celebrations I couldn't afford. Until now. "Your table for 5. The hostess gestures to a round table draped in cream-colored linen, positioned perfectly beneath a small copper chandelier. "Your champagne is already chilling, as requested." A silver bucket stands sentry beside the table, cradling a bottle I'd researched for weeks. $300 of possibility, of celebration, of family finally seeing me. "Perfect," I whisper, sliding into my chair and checking my watch. 10 minutes early. Plenty of time for them to arrive. I arrange the place settings, straightening a fork here, centering a napkin there. My phone buzzes with congratulations from colleagues. My boss's message makes me smile. "Youngest senior strategy lead in company history. They better be popping that champagne the minute they arrive." The server approaches, his movements practiced and elegant. "Would you like to wait for your guests before opening the champagne?" "Yes, please. They should be here any minute." I glance at my watch again. Traffic from North Boulder can be unpredictable. He nods and places a breadbasket on the table. "I'll check back shortly." Minutes tick by. I arrange and rearrange the silverware. The bread cools, untouched. The champagne beads with condensation. "More water while you wait?" The server returns, his eyes kind in a way that makes my throat tighten. "Please." I force a smile. My mother probably got held up with my aunt. They're always running late. 15 minutes becomes 30. 30 becomes an hour. The server stops asking if I'm ready to order. Instead, he quietly refills my water glass whenever it drops below half full. His discretion is both a relief and a humiliation. I pull out my phone and check my texts. Nothing from Mom, nothing from Tyler, nothing from Aunt Valerie or Uncle Darren. I sent a reminder this morning, called Mom yesterday to confirm. "We'll try to make it," she'd said, her voice distant as if I'd caught her in the middle of something more important. "Tyler has some news too." My fingers hover over the keyboard. Should I call? Text? The restaurant hums around me with laughter and conversation, the clink of glasses, the scrape of silverware against fine china. Every sound reminds me of what this dinner was supposed to be. My phone vibrates. Finally. But it's not a call or text, just an Instagram notification. I tap it open, and the air leaves my lungs in a single punch. A photo appears on my screen. Mom with her arm around Tyler, Uncle Darren raising a beer bottle, Aunt Valerie laughing with her head thrown back. They're at Lakeside Bar and Grill, their usual hangout. Tyler stands proudly next to what must be his new ATV bulky, gleaming with unnecessary chrome. The caption reads, "Celebrating Tyler's new toy, $11K well spent." The timestamp, 30 minutes ago, during my reservation. I zoom in on their faces, searching for some sign of regret, some hint they'd remembered and chosen to go anyway. There is none, just joy unmixed with guilt. As I stare at the photo, a text from Mom finally appears. "You're not exactly a priority right now. Hope the wine's good though." Something cracks inside Minot loudly, but with the quiet finality of ice breaking on a winter lake. A single tear escapes, trailing down my cheek before I can catch it. The server notices. Without a word, he brings the check $2,120 for a celebration that never happened. I hand him my credit card without looking at the total again. What's another debt in a ledger already so full? Just this morning, my colleagues had crowded around my office door, applauding as my boss announced the promotion. "Noelle Harper has broken every record we have," he'd proclaimed. youngest senior strategy lead in company history. I'd called Mom immediately afterward, heart pounding with a childish hope I should have outgrown by 34. "That's nice, honey," she'd said. "We'll try to make it to dinner. Tyler has some news, too." The server returns with my card. "Can I get you anything else, Miss Harper?" I stand, gathering my purse and dignity in equal measure. "No, thank you. You've been very kind." He hesitates, then says quietly, "Congratulations on your promotion. They missed something special tonight." I nod, unable to speak past the knot in my throat. As I walk through the restaurant, past tables of laughing families and couples leaning close, I feel both invisible and exposada woman leaving alone from a table set for 5, an untouched bottle of champagne marking her passage. The door to my apartment clicks shut behind me 40 minutes later. I stand motionless in the dim entryway, still in my silk blouse and heels from a dinner no one attended. The silence wraps around me like a familiar blanket, heavy, suffocating yet expected. I kick off my heels. One skitters across the hardwood floor, the other lands on the thin area rug I found at a garage sale 3 summers ago. My apartment is functional but sparsely contrast to the lavish restaurant I just left, and an even starker contrast to my mother's comfortable North Boulder home with its plush sofas and renovated kitchen. The kitchen I paid for. My wine glass cabinet holds exactly 4 glasses. I take one down, uncork a bottle of Merlot I've been saving, and pour until red nearly kisses the rim. The irony doesn't escape me drinking alone after purchasing champagne no one stayed to drink. My laptop waits on the coffee table where I left it this morning. Back then, I'd been filled with hope, imagining my family's faces when they heard about my promotion. Senior strategy lead. The youngest in company history. I open the laptop, take a long swallow of wine, and pull up a folder labeled Personal Finance. Inside sits a spreadsheet I've maintained for 5 years. Family Support 2019-2024. The file opens, columns and rows filling my screen with brutal clarity. Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't forget a promise or claim to be stuck in traffic when they're actually celebrating someone else's newest toy. Mom's mortgage, $1,670 per month times 54 months equals $90,180. Tyler's truck payments, $12,320. Aunt Valerie's medical bills, $16,890. Uncle Darren's back taxes, $5,400. Countless utility bills, car repairs, insurance payments. Total, $126,782.33. Enough for a down payment on a home of my own, enough to have traveled the world twice over, enough to have started the small consulting firm I dream about during lunch breaks. The wine burns going down. I set the glass aside and open my banking app. Tomorrow morning, another automatic payment of $1,670 will transfer from my account to cover Mom's mortgage. A payment she hasn't acknowledged in over a year. My finger hovers over the cancel button. The wine emboldens me. I press it, watching as a confirmation message appears. For the first time in 5 years, my mother's mortgage payment won't be my responsibility tomorrow. I create a new document, typing what I owe myself at the top. The cursor blinks, waiting. I begin typing. Birthday call on my 34th birthday. None received. Hospital visit when I had appendicitis. None made. Help moving into this apartment. None offered. Number of times asked how my day was. 0. Number of times asked for money. 437. My phone buzzes with a text. Mom's name flashes on the screen. The electricity bill is higher than usual this month. Can you cover an extra $200? Not, how was your dinner? Not, sorry we missed your celebration, just another request. I scroll through our message history. Every text from my mother contains a request money for groceries, help with Tyler's car insurance, complaints about property taxes. Every text from Tyler starts with "Hey sis" and ends with a dollar amount. My eyes land on an email thread from 2021. The subject line reads, "House title change. Mom had convinced me to remove my name from the property title while continuing to pay the mortgage. It's just easier this way, honey. You're still helping with payments anyway. I scroll to a photo I took last weekend, my 10-year-old Honda with 192,000 miles on the odometer, the check engine light glowing amber on the dashboard. Then I switch to Instagram, where Tyler's new ATV gleams in the sunset glow, my mother's arm draped proudly around his shoulders. The anger builds in my chest, not as a roaring fire but as something harder, colder, more lasting, a resolve crystallizing with each photo, each text, each unanswered birthday. I check my bank balance, $1,243 after tonight's extravagant dinner bill. The low balance warning has become a constant companion over the years, appearing after each family emergency. My watch reads 4:17 a.m. when I finally stand, knees stiff from sitting motionless for hours. I grab my car keys and mother's house key from the key rack. The drive to her house takes exactly 11 minutes in the pre-dawn stillness. The house sits dark and quiet. The house I've paid for without living in it. The house where everyone but me belongs. I write a note on the back of an old receipt, my handwriting surprisingly steady. His toy, his house. Your turn. I tape it to the front door, place my house key under the mat where we've always kept the spare, and turn away without looking back. In my car the next morning, I watch the sunrise paint the house in soft gold light. A weight lifts from my shoulders, not completely, but enough to straighten my spine as I drive away, leaving behind more than just a key. 5 days later, the screen of my phone lights up for the 67th time in 24 hours. I know the exact count because my voicemail announces it in a robotic voice that somehow manages to sound judgmental. 67 missed calls since I left the note and my house key. I pour another cup of coffee and set the phone on the counter, screen down. The silence of my apartment wraps around me like a blanket I've never allowed myself before. No urgent text to answer. No financial fires to extinguish, just the steady tick of the kitchen clock and steam rising from my mug. The phone buzzes again, vibrating against the granite. My hand hovers over it, then retreats. Old habits. Instead, I press the speaker button on my voicemail and let the messages play while I stand at the window, watching the Colorado mountains turn golden in the morning light. Noelle, it's Mom. Her voice starts soft, almost wounded. Why didn't you tell us? We were counting on you for the mortgage payment. Call me back immediately. Not a word about my empty celebration dinner. Not a single question about why I stopped payment. The next message clicks on. Sis, it's Tyler. Look, it was just one dinner. You're overreacting. Call Mom, she's freaking out about the mortgage. I take a slow sip of coffee, feeling something unfamiliar bloom in my chest. Not guilt, not anxiety, anger. Clean and clarifying, like the first cold breath of winter. This is Valerie. Your mother told me what you did. You're not the only one who works hard, you know. Some of us have real problems. My medication. Delete. The sunlight catches on the crystal paperweight my colleagues gave me to celebrate my promotion. 5 days ago. A lifetime ago. I turn it in my hands, watching rainbow patterns dance across my kitchen wall. My email notification chimes. Another message from Paula, this one with the subject line, Valerie will lose her medication. I open it. The message consists of a single line. Is this what you want? As I close the email, a notification from Facebook appears. Tyler has tagged me in a post. When family abandons you in your time of need, pray they remember what family really means. The comment section brims with sympathy. Distant relatives and hometown friends offering support to my struggling brother and his heartbroken mother. Not one person knows about the $126,000 I've given them. Not one person knows about the empty table at the Copper Elm. My phone lights up with a private message from a number I rarely see. Uncle Darren. Got a minute to talk? Not taking sides, just concerned. I hesitate, then type back. I have a meeting in an hour, can call after. His response comes quickly. They've been taking advantage for years, Noelle. I've watched it happen. My hands freeze over the screen. In 5 years of financial support, not one person in my family has acknowledged what was happening. Uncle Darren's message feels like the first honest conversation I might have. His next text arrives before I can respond. Tyler bragged about it at the bar last month. Said you'd pay for anything if he just mentioned Mom's disappointment. The coffee turns bitter in my mouth. I set the mug down too hard, liquid sloshing over the rim. Paula is organizing what she calls a family intervention for you. Darren continues. Thursday night at her house. Valerie and Frank will be there. They're planning to make you see reason. I stand perfectly still, letting the information settle. An intervention, as if my financial independence were a disease that needed curing. Thank you for the warning. I type back. Someone should have told you years ago, he responds. I'm sorry I didn't. I spent the rest of the morning in calculated preparation. Call the bank to confirm no one else can access my accounts. Email my financial advisor to review all automatic payments and cancel any benefiting my family. Change the locks on my apartment after finding Paula's spare key in my desk drawer. Then I went to the office for the meeting with a client. At precisely 3:17 p.m., after the meeting was over, my office phone rang. My assistant's voice comes through, unusually hesitant. Noelle, your mother and brother are in the lobby. With, an ATV? I stand at my office window and look down at the street. There it sits, Tyler's chrome-covered toy parked illegally in the fire lane. Paula stands beside it, hair perfectly styled, sunglasses perched on her head. Tyler leans against the machine, casual, confident, as if delivering a prize rather than an ambush. They say it's a peace offering. My assistant continues. Should I send them up? Through the glass, I watch as Paula checks her reflection in the building's mirrored exterior. Tyler scrolls through his phone, bored. A peace offering that conveniently puts me in a position where I can't react honestly without making a scene at my workplace. Noelle, they're asking if you're coming down. Several of my colleagues have paused at the lobby windows, watching the spectacle. The ATV gleams in the afternoon sun, $11,000 monument to my family's priorities. Miss Harper, what should I tell them? I turn away from the window and sit at my desk, pull up the quarterly report I'd been working on before the interruption. The numbers align in orderly rows, predictable, logical, unlike family. Tell them I'm in a meeting, I say, my voice steady. And Jordan, if they come back, I'm still in that meeting. Understood. The relief in her voice is palpable. I work until sunset, the glow of my computer screen replacing the fading daylight. By the time I pack up to leave, the ATV and its bearers are long gone. In their place, my phone shows 23 new messages, each more desperate than the last. I delete them all without listening. Walking to my car in the empty parking garage 20 minutes later, my footsteps echo against concrete. Each step feels different, somehow lighter, more deliberate. For the first time in years, I'm walking away from a family crisis rather than toward it. The mountains stand silhouetted against the darkening sky as I drive home, their presence solid and unchanging. Tomorrow, the bank will call Paula about the missed mortgage payment. Tomorrow, she'll realize I'm not coming to fix it, as always. Tomorrow, I'll continue breathing this unfamiliar oxygen called freedom. The mortgage statement sat unopened on Noelle's kitchen counter for 3 days. She'd never let a bill sit that long before. Her phone, silenced and face down on the coffee table, buzzed again, the screen lighting up with Paula's name for the 4th time that hour. Noelle sipped her coffee and watched a cardinal land on her balcony railing. The morning sun caught its brilliant red feathers, turning them almost luminous against the pale blue sky. She'd never noticed birds from her apartment before. The bank's automated call came at precisely 9 o'clock Timland. Mrs. Harper, this is Boulder Community Bank's payment reminder system. The mortgage payment for an account ending in 4721 is now 5 days past due. Please contact our office to avoid additional late fees. Noelle deleted the message without a twinge of guilt. The mortgage wasn't in her name, though she'd faithfully paid it for 54 months straight. The title had been Paula's idea. It's just easier this way, honey, her mother had insisted 3 years ago. You're still helping with payments anyway. Her phone buzzed again, this time a text. Paula, the bank called about the mortgage. They said it's late? Noelle set her mug down carefully. Another text arrived before she could respond. Paula, can you handle it? Tyler's really stressed right now. The cardinal flew away, startled by something Noelle couldn't see. She opened her laptop instead of replying, navigating to her budget spreadsheet. The column labeled Family Support had been deleted, replaced with Future Home Fund. The numbers were identical, but the destination had changed. A knock at her door made her flinch. "Noelle? I know you're in there." Tyler's voice, thin with desperation, carried through the door. "Mom said you're not answering her calls." She stood at the door, hand hovering over the knob, but didn't turn it. "I lost my job yesterday," he continued. "The foreman said I missed too many shifts, but you know how it is. And now the ATV payment." "I can't help you anymore, Tyler." Her voice sounded steadier than she felt. "What? Just open the door, we need to talk about this." "No, we don't." Noelle leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. "You skipped my celebration dinner to buy a toy you couldn't afford. Now you want me to rescue you from the consequences." Silence stretched between them, broken only by the sound of Tyler's breathing. "That's not fair," he finally muttered. "That dinner was just for one night. This is serious." "It was serious to me." The words came out sharper than she intended. "But that doesn't matter to any of you, does it? I've been handling everything for everyone else so long you've forgotten I'm a person too." "Come on, Noelle. You're blowing this way out of proportion." His tone shifted to the wheedling charm that usually worked. "Can you at least co-sign for a small loan? Just to get me through until I find something else?" The familiar weight settled across her shoulders, her brother's problems becoming hers to solve. For a moment, she almost gave in. Then her gaze caught on the framed promotion certificate her colleagues had signed. Youngest senior strategy lead in company history. An accomplishment she'd celebrated alone. "No." "What?" "I said no, Tyler. Not anymore." His fist hit the door hard enough to make her jump. "You selfish bitch, after everything we've done for you?" "Everything you've done for me?" Noelle laughed, the sound brittle and unfamiliar. "What exactly have any of you done except take?" "Family helps family," he shouted. "That's how it works." "Is it? Because from where I stand, it looks like I help and you take. That's not family, that's exploitation." Footsteps thundered down the hallway as Tyler stomped away. Noelle slid down the wall until she sat on the floor, heart hammering against her ribs. Her phone rang again, Paula's number. This time she answered. "Where's my mortgage payment?" Paula demanded, skipping any greeting. "Where were you when I was sitting alone at the Copper Elm?" Paula's voice turned syrupy sweet. "Honey, we've been over this. Tyler needed our support with his new purchase. You know how he gets when he feels left out." "And how do you think I felt, Mom? Sitting at a table for 5, watching the champagne go flat while you celebrated his impulse buy?" "You're being dramatic. It was just dinner." "It wasn't just dinner." Noelle stood, strengthened by the anger coursing through her veins. "It was the final proof that I don't matter to any of you unless I'm writing a check." "That's not true. We love you. You're just more capable than Tyler." "Capable of being used." "Noelle Elizabeth Harper, how dare you speak to me like that, after everything I've sacrificed?" "What exactly have you sacrificed, Mom? Because from what I can see, I've been paying your mortgage, covering Tyler's mistakes, and funding Aunt Valerie's medication for years." The silence stretched between them, taut as a wire. "Is this really the end?" Paula finally asked, her voice small. Noelle looked at her reflection in the window, shoulders back, chin raised, eyes clear for the first time in years. "It's the end of me pretending this was love." She ended the call and blocked the number. Her hands didn't shake as she poured a fresh cup of coffee. Outside, the cardinal had returned, joined now by its mate. They hopped along the railing, red against the blue morning sky, free to come and go as they pleased. A week later, Tyler appeared in the glass-walled lobby of Pinnacle Consulting like a storm front, his face red and jaw working. He paced before the reception desk, voice rising with each pass until heads turned from every corner. "Family emergency," he announced to the receptionist. "My sister needs to come down right now." I watched from the mezzanine balcony, my hands gripping the railing until my knuckles whitened. 3 colleagues stood beside me, their puzzled expressions shifting between Tyler's performance below and my rigid posture. "That's my brother," I said, the words scraping my throat like sandpaper. "Want security to handle it?" asked Marcus, our HR director. I shook my head. No, this was coming. The elevator descent felt like sinking underwater. Each floor chimed with artificial cheerfulness while my stomach twisted into knots. The doors slid open to reveal Tyler gesturing dramatically to a growing audience of receptionists, security guards, and curious colleagues. Finally! He rushed forward, lowering his voice to a theatrical whisper that carried perfectly across the marble floor. Mom's freaking out. The bank called about the mortgage, again. I stepped aside when he tried to take my elbow. Did you drive here in your ATV? His performance faltered. What? No, I took the bus. Are you listening? The mortgage. Call the bank yourself. I kept my voice level despite the heat rising up my neck. You're 32 years old. That's always been your thing, he said, forehead creasing with genuine confusion. I thought you'd always handle things. The simple truth of it was crushed through years of denial. That's the problem, I replied. So did I. Tyler's eyes darted around the lobby, registering our audience. He straightened his posture, hand running through hair that hadn't seen a proper cut since I'd last paid for one. Look, the job at Carson's ended. The ATV payment is late. His voice rose again, calibrated perfectly for witnesses. Are you really going to abandon your family when we need you most? Heat rose from my collar to my hairline. For a moment I considered what I'd always done, a nodding, promising to fix it, writing another check to preserve the peace. But peace had always been purchased with pieces of myself. I lost my job, he continued, tears suddenly brimming. The ATV might get repossessed. A colleague who'd emerged from the elevator behind me whispered, "What's happening?" Something snapped inside me, not with the quiet crack of the restaurant night, but with the roar of a dam breaking after years of pressure. My brother bought an $11,000 toy the night he skipped my promotion dinner, I said, turning toward my assembled coworkers with surprising steadiness. Now he's here because the payment is late. The shock on their faces mirrored what must have been on mine that night at the Copper Elm. Noelle, Tyler hissed, color draining from his face. That's a private family business. So was my promotion dinner, I replied. But you made that public on Instagram while I sat alone with a $300 bottle of champagne nobody drank. The lobby fell silent. Tyler's performance deflated like a punctured balloon. You've always been the responsible one, he muttered, but the words held no power now. And you've always counted on that. I stepped back toward the elevator. Not anymore. My phone buzzed in my pocket as I walked away 30 minutes later. A group text from Mom claimed Aunt Valerie couldn't afford her medication, that I was destroying the family, that they might lose everything. Before I could respond, Uncle Darren's reply appeared. I just took her to get her prescription. She's fine. Mom's response came swiftly. Darren, you're turning everyone against me. My thumbs hovered over the screen before typing. The truth does that sometimes. I blocked their numbers before the elevator reached my floor. That evening, I contacted my financial advisor and liquidated some investments enough for a down payment on a condo overlooking the mountains. I changed my phone number, sharing it only with Uncle Darren and trusted friends from work. The freedom tasted like copper and salt, painful but cleansing. Uncle Darren's final message arrived as I signed the purchase agreement for my new home. You were never selfish. You were just surrounded by takers. I drafted a certified letter to Mom outlining terms for any future contact. No financial requests. Respect for my career and life choices. Acknowledgement of past exploitation. Her unsigned return letter contained a single line, "How could you do this to family?" She still didn't understand. Family wasn't supposed to be something you did things to, it was supposed to be something you did things with. I taped her letter to my refrigerator as a reminder not of guilt but of clarity. When the temptation to slip back into old patterns arose, I'd see those words and remember why I stood my ground. The weight hadn't been the money. It had been carrying people who never intended to walk on their own. 6 months pass like water through cupped hands. I stand on my condo balcony, watching April sunlight transform Boulder into a painting. The mountains rise like patient guardians in the distance, unchanged while everything else has shifted. Inside, my new space breathes with me rather than against me. Potted herbs line the kitchen windowsill, basil, mint, rosemary green evidence of consistency and care. A wall of windows invites light across the hardwood floors I selected myself. No mortgage payments except my own. The framed photo on my mantel catches the morning light. My colleagues surround me, champagne glasses raised in genuine celebration. 6 months after the empty table at the Copper Elm, they insisted on a proper recognition dinner. This time, I wasn't alone. My phone rings. Uncle Darren's name appears on the screen. "The sign went up yesterday," he says without preamble. "Your mother finally listed the house." I absorbed this without the stab of guilt I once would have felt. "How's she taking it?" "About as well as you'd expect." His voice carries the weight of witnessing the aftermath. "Tyler moved back in after they repossessed that ridiculous ATV. Your aunt found a prescription assistance program through her doctor's office." "And Mom?" "Telling everyone who'll listen that her daughter abandoned her." He pauses. "Nobody's buying it anymore." The words settle without crushing me. Progress, my therapist would say. "You're still coming Sunday?" I ask, changing the subject. "Wouldn't miss it. Lisa's bringing her famous potato salad." We chat about ordinary things, she's garden, my weekend plans, a book we both enjoyed. When we hang up, I don't feel drained. Another small victory. On my laptop, I open my budget spreadsheet. The self-investment category now contains actual numbers: a weekend photography workshop, a properly fitted bicycle, concert tickets. My retirement accounts show steady growth. The family emergency fund has been renamed Travel Fund, with enough saved for 2 weeks in Portugal this fall. 2 hours later, a knock at my door reveals Melissa, the junior analyst from my department. We settle at my kitchen island, steam rising from coffee mugs between us. "I canceled the check," she says, fingers trembling slightly around her cup. "My brother called me ungrateful." "But you still canceled it." I reach across to squeeze her hand. That's courage. "Does the guilt ever stop?" Her eyes search mine, hungry for reassurance. "It transforms," I tell her, "into something quieter, something that reminds you of growth rather than loss." She nods, understanding blooming across her face. I recognize myself in Hertha version from before, who measured worth by what she gave rather than who she was. My calendar chimes with a reminder. Dinner with friends at 7 o'clock. Not colleagues or networking contacts, but actual friends who know my favorite wine and worst jokes. People who celebrate my successes without keeping score. As Melissa leaves, the sun shifts to afternoon gold. My phone buzzes with an unknown number. 6 months ago, I would have answered immediately, heart racing with dread of another family crisis. Today, I silence it without hesitation. On my balcony, 3 small clay pots cradle seedlings gifts from Uncle Darren. Late bloomers, he called them with a knowing smile. They take their time, but they're worth the wait. I touch a tender green leaf, marveling at its persistence. The weight I carried for years wasn't measured in dollars, though the ledger helped me see it. The true burden was heavier carrying people who never intended to walk on their own. Now my shoulders straighten without effort. The mountain view stretches before me, limitless and waiting.